So here we have an app that we made from a SharePoint list using the form control. It's just a simple 3-screen app with a browse, details, and an edit screen. What we're going to go ahead and do now is modify this, and I'll show you how to have the same app, but instead of form control and submit form, we'll be using patch. You can see we have the form control, and each of the title cards here, they're just a couple labels. So we're going to go ahead and replace this with just a series of labels. Okay, so now we need to tell it what to put into these labels. It will be whatever is selected in the gallery. We have type of value. Okay, so this is just 8 labels that we made. And there we go. So now we've mimicked the detail form. So this can be the same because we're still removing whatever was selected in Browser Gallery 1 from the expenses list. You don't need to modify that. We're not going to have an edit form, so we're going to take that away. Okay, so now we're here at the edit screen. And this is going to be similar, but we're going to need 4 labels and then 2 text inputs, a date picker, and a drop down. Okay, now we need to go through and tell these what to put into all these controls. This is again going to be whatever is selected in Gallery 1. The same here for the total. And same for the text. Okay, now this control with the drop down is going to be just a little bit different. This in the SharePoint list is set up to be choices, so we have to use the choices expenses dot type of close parenthesis. Okay, so now it has the drop down list in there, but it's not the right, it shouldn't be gas in there. You can see it should say we need to change the default value. And this is where we tell it what is selected in the gallery. Let's see, type, value. Okay, so now that's right. And now we need to change from the submit form. The submit form was very easy. And now we're going to use the patch function. So we're patching the expenses list. We are going to do it by the ID of whatever the ID was in the SharePoint item to the selected item in the galleries ID. There we go. And that makes it so it'll update that same record. And then we need to set all these different okay, that is text input 1. The text that's typed into that box will show up in the title field, and we have to do that with every other column. Date is whatever is the date picker selected, date, comma, total, that is text input 2, text, and last is the type of, that is what is in dropdown 1, selected. Okay, curly, close parenthesis, and made an error here. Is that in our SharePoint list, the total column is set up as a currency value. So it wants a number, and right here it's passing it total text input 2.text is a text string. So what we have to do is we have to change that to a number. So we will okay, so we have to say value. Actually, let me, okay, so total, we want the value of that text string, and now it'll be accepted. Okay, so that's finished. And remember, so what we had before was submit form, edit form 1. That was the difference. Okay, and I'm actually going to duplicate this screen, and I'm going to name this create new, and I don't want these to have default values. I want all this to be blank. So I will change this to now. And the items is still right. We want it to be that choices items, but we don't want it to have a default value. Clear that out. Okay, and so this is to create a new item in your SharePoint list. So we don't want it to be looking at the ID. We're going to use a function called defaults. Expenses. Okay, so that will, defaults expenses will now create a new row in your SharePoint list, and everything else works just the same. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little longer now. So we have to reset every single control here. Reset. We have to do the text input controls. And 2, 1. And the drop down. Okay. Semicolon. All right. And that works. But we want it to reset when you first come on the screen. I'll change that too. So we got two things to change. First off, we're going to change this to a number value instead of text, because you don't want people typing letters in your total column. Because I have that set up to currency in SharePoint, it won't accept it. It'll just not going to work. So we can hit cancel, and that'll reset the screen. But let's go ahead and change this. And maybe change this. So what we also want is, for this screen, every time you come to it, we want it to reset. So you go to on visible, and you can actually say, reset, and then come through and copy all these controls again. You could copy all this. Yeah. So we could just copy all that. Or what also you could do is, whenever this screen becomes visible, we want to select the icon cancel. Okay. Alrighty, and then that reset the date and the drop down that we had just changed. Alrighty, so we've recreated these form controls, and instead of submit, we've used the patch command. But that's really all the adjustments you have to do to this app. And everything else is the same. There's something else we should do. Going to say we want text, this item of the total. So it says text, value, comma, and then how do we want to format the text? This is something you have to look up. So we want it to appear like currency. See, we need to, oh, it needs to be in quotes though. So quotes and close parenthesis. Okay, so now it's got, looks like currency. And then you can go ahead and copy that over and do that for all of these. Make them all look like currency. You can also change the formatting of these date controls. You could say I want this to be a long date. Okay. So just a couple little things that you'll pick up the more that you actually start working with PowerApps. And we want to, we're not going to have a new form. Let's create new. There we go. You've seen some differences between submit form and patch. Go ahead and play around with them, see what you like better.